All right, listen up, sheeple. This is the podcast where good facts get rewarded and lies are punished. But will we detect the lies inherent in our society? Will we, Ryan Whittal?
He might, because he's the catcher in the lie.
If this was a literature one, you would have just... But it's not. It's the conspiracy one.
Oh, yes. Welcome to the show. My name is Ryan Whittal, Warren Robertson, and it's a pleasure to have you. Be safe, folks, during this recording.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you clear your history and
use a VPN. Go through the Tor browser.
Yeah. Stock up on your pickled eggs. And
ammunition, of course.
Yeah.
Ammunition, because this is, if you can't tell already, is the conspiracy theory episode.
It is, yeah. I've got if you're getting the 5G headaches, you just do this. And that just soothes you a little. It deflects a lot of that stuff.
You look like Liberace as RoboCop.
Liberace is...
Can you get it up again? Or you're going to have to sit like that for the whole... No, now they're reading your brain. It's all over, Ryan. They'll know where we are. They know where we are now. I mean, obviously, conspiracy theories is quite a difficult thing to tackle because we always kind of walk that line, right? Between truth and lies.
Yes.
And then conspiracy theories do the same thing. What's the truth? What's the lies? The internet will be divided.
Yeah.
We can't just, it's not easy to just say, there is a moon, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because 50 million people will tell us, no, we're wrong, there's no moon. They'll say that the moon is a hologram projection projected up there by the American government to hide something, probably the face of God, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Although looking at America these days, I think God is hiding his own face. just ashamed. Just ashamed, yeah.
So in God we trust on their money. Like, no, please don't.
God, just keep it on the down low for a couple 100 years. Once you stop shooting your kids, let's talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, good.
Roswell. We should do our 200th episode in Roswell.
Yes, we should. Yeah, in Area 51. Let's kick it off. I don't know who's supposed to start this.
Go for it. You're in the zone.
I think I should do it. I should do a quick one. All right, let me do a quick one. I wanted to mention the hats because the hats kind of like a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like Deet said, we had to wear the hats.
Yes.
I think he just likes making us look like assholes. But I don't really like to wear the hats because I think it's all a conspiracy theory. It's big tinfoil.
Yeah.
Trying to sell us hats.
Yeah.
Which is maybe now there's like a bunch of people who are like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is why you have to get your tinfoil from the ground, make it yourself.
And it's because of all the cell phone network stuff.
That's right. Well, that and the government is trying to read your thoughts, right? So the government is constantly trying to read. Like this is the theory, right? Is the government wants to know your thoughts. Right, like you,
Minority Report,
doing what I do for a living. They need to desperately know what I'm thinking every minute of every day. Yes,
porn. Some information about medical effects.
Yeah. He spent several hours on Wednesday night hoping for a toaster bar. Anyway, so I'm not sure that we need these anymore because effectively we give them all the information they want with our cell phones, right? Like that's the thing these days. So, and I'm not giving up my cell phone for anything. I'm too wildly addicted to it. I can't. Anyway, but I will dive right in. And the reason I wanted to mention the thing is because my first fact, if you'll allow it, is is that Canada. Once the Canadian government was so paranoid about homosexuality that it developed a gaydar machine.
I mean, that's always been the joke, hey? The joke's always, we have a mutual comedian friend who's like, and then he'd meet someone and go, my gaydar was going.
Yeah.
So
people in the gay community say that's that gay people can recognize other gay people. They call it their gaydar, but what I'm saying is now the Canadian government
developed one.
They spent a lot of money developing a gaydar machine. What? You check the internet. It's true.
There is no ways that is the case. I mean, when technology was doing its thing, maybe the whole of the 20th century, mind you, at the turn of the 20th century, you had the Oscar Wilde scenario. I mean, that was quite late in the 19th, and that was in England.
Yeah.
So maybe there was, this is becoming a problem. We've got little things. And then sort of technology. The First World War, there was some shit going on with technology. So maybe in that era, in the 1910s, 20s, maybe when radiography was in its infancy or some shit, then they thought, let's scan the sky and see what... I don't know. I don't want it. It's ridiculous, but I'm trying to figure out, is there actually a way and an era and a reason and...
Maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just a cassette deck with Liza Minnelli and Barbara Streisand hits on it. And if you finish the song, then...
there was that Kevin Kline movie in the late 90s. And
In and Out.
Was it called In and Out?
In and Out.
And then he was like, don't dance to the music. Don't. That macho, don't bump your head. A man stands still. He doesn't bump his head to the music. And it's like he can't help himself. I would have failed that gay test.
Yeah, no, I would have. Like a musicals. They could have played me any musical. I've finished the song. Yeah.
So, okay, time to give my answer. Oh, man. No, I'm going to say reason's going to get the better of me. I'm going to say no, this is a lie. Maybe some weird paranoia. If I'm wrong, it was in the 1910s, but I'm still going to say no, it's wrong. It's a lie. The Canadian government didn't develop a gaydar, Warren. Okay.
Okay, well, listen, they absolutely did.
No!
So it's a wide conspiracy theory, and it turns out it's actually true. The Canadian government hired a university professor from Carleton University by the name of Frank Robert Wake, and he created this device that would be able to detect homosexual men. They mockingly called it the fruit machine. Ryan,
That's stupid.
You can't lie. You can't laugh at that, Ryan. It's bigoted.
No.
It's
Yes,
bigoted.
Yes.
But it wasn't some like casual "can we detect homosexual men" thing. Ostensibly, it was made so that they could get all the gay people out of government. So they could test all the gay employees, all the employees of government in Canada.
Jeez.
And 400 people were fired.
Oh,
and
this is bad.
9,000 people were put on a watch list.
Good bloody
Like, we're not 100% certain, but we think you're a little poofy. And that's genuine. And yes, it was this horrible kind of McCarthyistic thing. What it did.
And the era? Do you know the era?
1960s. So
Good
this,
Lord,
so
this is recent.
I mean, it's recent in years, but in terms of where society was and how far it's come, it's might as well be 500 years ago. But yeah, they looked at, essentially what the machine did was it looked at how much a subject's eyes dilated after being forced to look at same-sex erotic imagery. you imagine the Clockwork Orange scenario of these government employees, this tax guy sitting in his chair with his eyes strapped open, being forced to look at homosexuals. Like cock on cock action. Forced to watch bum fun. And then 400 people were fired off of the basis of that as a test, and 9,000 people put on a watch list.
This is very serious and very outrageous.
Yeah. So yeah, let's kick this shit off on a weird note, if you please. But there you are. It's 100% true.
My word, that is crazy. Canada, come on. But they've come a long way. The Canadians, they're quite forward-thinking, progressive society now.
I don't know what they're like. I've got no idea. I'd imagine that the ones who live in the cities, and I'm gonna be bigoted against Canadians because no one ever is. I think the Canadians who live in the big cities, maybe they're forward-thinking, but there's a lot of wilderness. There's a lot of outback wildernessy people who live in small, rural, inbred, villages that don't. Yeah, exactly. They probably don't even have the internet out there in many of those places.
Yeah.
Oil workers.
Places like Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
I spent 2 months there when I was 18 visiting my gran in Montreal, and their comedy is quite big. They have the festival, and there was one. There's a state called Alberta, and there's a state called Saskatchewan. They're like, Saskatchewan, so flat, you can see your dog run away for 3 days. It's like those kind of jokes. And it's like, there's like nothing in Saskatchewan. You see a billboard that says, "Welcome to Saskatchewan. gateway to Alberta, which is the next state. So there's a lot of vast amounts of nothing. It's the second biggest country in the world in terms of size, eh?
A lot of gay people there.
Lot of
Is that,
places
I'm
for
just
them
trying to see how this
lo-
connects to the podcast, right? Or were you just going off about Canada? Is that
Yeah,
what it was?
blame Canada. Yeah.
Nice.
No, but progressive. Yeah, it's very strange indeed. Very strange. I'm gonna go across the border, across the Niagara Falls.
The home of many conspiracy theories, I find.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's nuts. And we're gonna go with quite a modern one and a big one, and it's a weird one because perhaps it's happening. It's happening, but is it a big conspiracy? And that's the old military-industrial complex.
Oh, you've gone for a big one.
Gone big, yeah.
Like I am fucking around with a Canadian gator, and you're just like, oh no, have you heard of the biggest conspiracy theory in the world?
So I think movies that have popularized it is Lord of War. Saw a bit of that, and also that one with Jonah Hill, where they are little arms dealers, and they just merely get a tender on the government website. It's that simple. They're trying to suggest that being an arms dealer is that simple.
But tell us what it is for those of us who don't know.
So the military-industrial complex is just basically the manufacturing of arms as being paid for by the American government, and private companies started to develop, especially after the Second World War, to make weapons and all sorts of things. But it's now an industry that needs stock to move, if you know what I mean.
This is the conspiracy theory.
So the theory is that people, the powerful people, the money people who are in making money from weapons will start conflicts and sustain conflicts around the globe so that weapons can be used. And even looking at Ukraine and stuff like that, it's very easy to get lured into they want to prolong the war so they can make lots of money.
So Ron Funches, I don't know if you've seen him. He's a stand-up comedian. Ron Funches says, yeah, we get it. Conspiracy theories are crazy, but and I get that you wanna not believe most of them. But are you telling me you don't believe some conspiracy? You got to believe some conspiracy theories. He says otherwise, when you say you don't believe any conspiracy theories, then you're basically just saying that you believe and trust your government completely, that your government is never lying to you. And when it comes to the military-industrial complex, that's where I'm like, oh, well, I crossed the line. I kind of become a bit of a conspiracy theorist, if they didn't give it away. I'm going to say, I could see companies doing dark shit. Like, you see that Wagner group in the Ukraine. And that stuff is pretty much as dark as you can get. Signing up prisoners and whatever to go and die. And you think if people can do that, then they can certainly convince themselves that selling the guns to a conflict isn't as bad as fighting that conflict. I mean, you can almost see people justify it to themselves. You get that situation where people are making, say, missiles, and then the guy who goes to the missile factory every day, he doesn't think of himself as making a death machine every day. He thinks that, no, I'm just making this one little part. I'm just making this one little thing. So I think that in terms of how capitalism works, I think that could very easily be considered their marketing department.
Sure.
Yeah, let's market these guys against each other.
How do you get product to move off the shelf, eh?
They've probably got people that go into like distressed third world countries and they're kind of like, you know what those guys across the border are saying about you, Uggs? You wouldn't believe it. They have not been very complimentary about what your women look like, I'll tell you what. And that other guy, what? What did they say? What did they say? Oh, they said things about your mother that I wouldn't dare to repeat. Oh, fuck them! Fuck them! Put an order into America. We're buying 1 million guns.
That's sort of thing. Phone our call center now. You can download on the app. You can just put in your order. Take a lot.
You see what this is? This is a TikTok. It's a TikTok. It's an influencer from Lagos. Look what he says about you guys. Look what he says. He says he just after the dance. Just wait for the dance to finish. And then there. Did you hear what he said about your mom?
It's like, oh fuck. Can you imagine? I mean, the horrors of war. We're having a bit of a laugh and all that, but I was like, so Bakhmut still hasn't fallen. I don't want to date this podcast, but Bakhmut still has fallen. It was almost going to fall.
I mean, I don't think that you're dating it at all. I think this people could watch this 3 years from now. Any minute now. The mighty Moscovia will wander into
the Ukrainians are going, hold out, guys, just hold out. Just fucking push back that Russian wave of Wagner soldiers, of prisoners. Because any month now, we're getting these tanks from Germany. But they just have to be... they're coming, guys. We're just training your soldiers to use them. They're kind of on an Apple Android system, not the kind of Microsoft. So we just need to...
But that
hold on. Come tanks. They're coming.
It's being crowdfunded. People in Turkey, people used to crowdfund for kids' school shoes or something. Now they crowdfund for tanks hey, we're raising for a drone to send to Ukraine. The military companies must be rubbing their hands like flies around the table. They're having a big Christmas party this year. Anyway, what is your fact?
You like a fact? What's the fact? What's the fact
that
I will show? Well, Eisenhower was the first to use the phrase in a speech. He was the president before John F. Kennedy. And then there's conspiracy about that he was going to say the military-industrial congressional complex because he wanted to point out oaks in Congress. But my fact is that after the Second World War, there was the Korean War. Military spending went from 15% back then
in America.
Yes, okay. of the federal revenue, 15% of the federal revenue on military spending, and slowly over the years it's gone up and up and up, and we're now sitting at 45% of the federal revenues being spent on military.
45? No, that seems way too high. Surely not.
From 15 to 45, from say Korean War 1952, 53 to like now with the Ukrainian conflict. NATO.
45% of America's money is going on its military.
That's my fact. From 15 to 45%.
I mean, if that's true. First, I mean, I think it's quite clear. It's blown my mind because if it is true, it's staggeringly disgusting.
Yeah.
Like that's a broken society. We look at the number of kind of mass shootings they have. We look at these. We know that they've got a problem with this thing. But 45. You're going to spend 45% of your money on this bullshit. It can't be that. It can't be that high. I, as an optimist, want to say it's not that high. I want to say it's not that high while tentatively believing it could be.
Yeah. What you're saying. Yeah. It would be a shock, and it would make you angry if it was, and it would make you sad and disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
Disillusioned.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to say that it's not that high.
Okay,
in fact, it was around 15% during the time of the Korean War. Then they kept it going for the Cold War at around 15%. But after Vietnam and the Cold War, by the year 2000, Clinton was in power, wasn't he? Bill Clinton. But it was down to 3.7%, which is great, from 15. And then 9/11 happened, which was terrible. And
which was terrible as long as you're not clearly a military-industrial company.
Yeah. You see, there's the whole conspiracy. It's them.
Right. So how much has it gone to?
It's back to 15%.
Okay.
But not 45%.
I mean, 45 would be crazy, right? 50 is still pretty mad.
It
when
is.
You're talking like $1 trillion a year. You're talking like silly money.
It's like a proxy war type thing and all of that. But it is 15%. It's not higher than. It's not climbed outrageously. So it's the money quantities are bigger because of inflation, but the percentage of federal revenue still around 15%. Yeah, not 45%.
I mean, it's a lot given that their involvement in wars around the world is technically supposed to be minimized, right? Like they were supposed to be sending fewer people to Afghanistan, fewer people to Iraq. The modern weapons are supposed to be capable of making sure you don't need as many people on the ground.
Yeah.
So it's up there. It's up there for a country that's not technically involved in any wars, really. Technically,
strange amounts of military bases all over the world. Strange amounts of military bases.
Yeah. Anyway, but these are the sorts of conspiracy theories I love. So I mean, on that kind of international geopolitics sort of front, have you heard of QAnon?
Yes.
Right. So QAnon is obviously it's like a big deal. It was born in 4chan, on 4chan, which is like a message board on the internet, in October of 2017. And what it basically was an anonymous individual called himself Q after his alleged government clearance level. And he started publishing these posts predicting global events, which he called the Q drops. And basically, he was saying he was using kind of secret government information, and he was telling us what was going to happen. And this really, like, it blew up, and it started taking over. And now, I mean, basically, QAnon effectively says that, there's this big satanic cabal of business leaders and celebrities and senior politicians who are dominating the world's kind of global, like everything, while also being the world's biggest sex traffickers. And I mean, it's really like it's this.
So everything evil comes from this one group of
right. And QAnon has made it quite clear that U.S. President Donald Trump is like the one person who can stop this thing. So I mean, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, and who are senators in America, have said that they ascribe to this and that QAnon's a thing. But recently, a recent study by Stanford, this is my fact, recent study by Stanford has linked QAnon ingeniously to bot farms in Russia.
Really?
Yeah. So that's my fact. Yeah.
So America, well, that's your fact. So if that's true, then America being hoodwinked by the enemy and fed false information.
That's right. Yeah. And being divided by the enemy. Cunningly divided by the enemy.
I know the dude who looked very weird on the storming Capitol Hill.
The shaman.
Yeah, he called it the QAnon shaman.
That's right.
Yeah, there's recent little leaks that he didn't break in, and they in fact security showed him around, and so he's being falsely imprisoned, and there's a bit of a victim.
I'm sure there's all sorts of these new discoveries of these guys being totally normal, just wandering around carrying guns on the Capitol, yeah.
So now, I mean, this brings the modern world has just sort of exploded this stuff and maybe introduced new stuff, conspiracies and stuff, because there's the whole TikTok thing. And
I think what's going to happen here, Ryan, is you and I are going to talk about this for the duration of this podcast, and you're going to leave like entirely red pilled. Yeah. You're going to go home. You're going to believe it. You're going to sit. You're never going to leave your house. You're going to just search the internet for conspiracies.
I do like beans very much. I like beans, and I'm keen to find out about them. I'm gonna
like a baked bean.
A little flat in Gordons Bay. It's gonna be a prepping hub. Come, folks, if you're scared.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing about like a bunker, an end of the world bunker, full of beans. Where does it all go? Where does all that gas go? Nobody's planning for that. Let's found big fart removal services.
But I was going to say, the latest thing was TikTok's in trouble, which is a Chinese thing. And there's a whole bunch of conservative America going, stop using TikTok because it's Chinese and they're gathering data on us, and it's not good. And I keep pronouncing it wrong, but it's called is it Latuzi? You know, this little school, these kids that stormed the shopping malls in Joburg.
No.
5,000 school kids dressed in black with skeleton things.
Nice. Yeah. I didn't see that at all. That sounds wonderful.
So my son's school put out a post saying you can't be involved. It's actually criminal activities. So
what do they do? No, tell me. No, whoa.
They cause cuck. I don't know.
Let's pause this thing. So it's a group of school kids.
So it's a hip hop dude in America.
Okay.
I think his name's Latwizzy.
Okay.
Latwizzy, and he's like, all right, we're gonna get kids like 15-year-olds, 5,000. I don't know how they connect WhatsApp, maybe.
With the magic of the internet.
Yeah,
right?
And they rock up at a shopping mall and I think they loot it a bit, trash it a bit, Muroks.
And they do this in South Africa.
So they've done this, Mall of Africa in Midrand.
Nice.
But security was alerted.
Trash it all. Trash the whole one.
And I think they... God help them if they want to try Menlyn shopping centre.
Oaks are going to pull in the Raptor buckies and...
So they're going to murder those teenagers. So...
Suddenly you're going to see tractors coming from Cullinan like over the highway.
I mean, so this is the crazy world. QAnon and TikTok and Cuck and I know about the Russian bot farms. And so you're saying QAnon is actually
Yeah.
comes from there. I'm gonna say no. It's still a whack job, Yankee Doodle, not a Russian. But I do know about the Russian whack job. But I'll say no. QAnon still. See, there was all that cuck between Donald Trump and Russia before the election, and then there was even a bit of Hunter Biden's laptop. Was it Russian linked? Oh my God!
You see, this is the thing. QAnon is very pro Donald Trump.
Yes. But I'm gonna say no. It didn't come. Or am I? You see, your facts are so good that they're particularly ambiguous tonight. Once again,
No, but they're going to be ambiguous because
Of the
the
nature
nature
of
of this
yeah.
thing, right? It's conspiracy theories.
I'm gonna
That's
say
what it
no.
is,
It's
yeah.
not linked to a Russian chatbot.
Yeah.
Bot farm. No, QAnon is not linked to a Russian bot farm.
Now, you're right, but you're also wrong because it isn't an American nut job. This is a proudly South African nut job.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah. It's
You're not talking about Mr. Pretoria Boys himself, Mr. Elon Musk.
No. His name is Paul Furber. He's a former tech journalist from Johannesburg. He was born in Pretoria. I think he was born in Zimbabwe. He went to his primary school in
then
Zimbabwe.
it's- yeah.
Came to Pretoria, I think. And then
Zimbabwe's probably-
anyway, he lived in Johannesburg for many years. He was a tech journalist. They basically found that it's him that started this whole thing. His claims. Initially they thought he was just the one who was kind of spreading the message, and then they did further digging and they found that in fact it's most likely that these messages, the whole QAnon thing, is linked to him, and that Paul Furber is in fact the Q in QAnon. So proving that South Africans, I mean, it's magnificent the things that we can do in any
causing
field.
cuck,
In any field, hey. We are quite capable of doing anything. They tried to talk to him in the media, and he refused to speak. He said he doesn't speak to the media. I mean, which fair enough.
Where does he do his thing? Where does he operate from?
No, I don't know. But he did once say in a 2019 interview that he lives off the grid on a reasonably large property, saying he's amassed fuel, solar, and ammo. So he's proper into this shit. But I mean, he's definitely like he
Do you
believes
think he's
it.
moved to America, or is he still doing it from here?
I mean, we don't really know. I suppose he could be doing both. I
Moving
guess.
off the grid in South Africa is becoming not just a cool, funky thing to do, but almost a sort of necessary thing to do.
Yeah, but yeah, he was a tech industry journalist, and for a while he was a web developer and whatever. But he's from Joburg. Joburg Boykie has split
man.
America down the middle. So yeah, America's greatest threat, not who they thought it was.
No, little O's from
Just
South
like
Africa.
a random moron from South Africa. Just Elon Musk, random moron from South Africa. Just asses. We are destroying their society.
Yeah,
one step at a time.
even sort of Noah's little stint on the Daily Show. That kind of
He was taking the left even more left.
Yeah.
We've got Paul Furber and Elon Musk taking the right even more right. South Africans are gonna break that country. Break those bitches. Got no time for America. Like, send your tanks. No, please don't. I'll cower. I'll
no,
cower.
please no.
I'll practice my cowering.
Yeah. we'll take up a strong position there in Fishhook, at the top of the
Yeah,
mountain
yeah.
there.
I'll
And if
take
they
a-
try and come in the harbour, we'll just fucking throw things at them.
I'll take a strong position in the forester's arms, drinking pints of beer until I'm unready to fight. And the second I see an American walk down the main street holding his rifle, his military industrial complex rifle, fucking surrender.
Surrender.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'll be the one making all those, those videos that they're like, yeah, no, they're treating me very nicely on the other side, guys. Please surrender. Come. Surrender to American might. They love us. Anyway.
Oh, this is crazy because I have zero link to this next fact.
No,
I've
you
got-
wouldn't. You wouldn't. That comes
gotta
out of
keep
nowhere, right? Like QAnon, that whole vibe was responsible for Pizzagate and the Hunter Biden laptop, as you say, and they're like, it's responsible for all that nut jobbery. all that crazy shit that deep South Americans believe, and it's just some random idiot, some South African moron.
I wonder if he is. I knew that dude, and he became quite the spokesperson on 702 and ENCA for technical things. Anytime something new came out, he reviewed
that's
it.
Aki Anasta.
Yeah, Aki was on 702, but the dude that they interviewed, he ran a magazine called Stuff Magazine.
Oh yeah, no,
What's
it's
his
not
name?
him.
Do you know
Not
him? I wonder if he, the dude at Stuff, knows.
I knew the deputy
Cute
ed,
dude.
Craig Wilson.
Is
Craig
it?
Wilson was, I went to university with him. He now lives in New York.
Really?
So maybe it's him. Hey, Craig. Anyway.
All right, so man, come on, gotta link this. Okay, so you were talking about.
No, you don't have to link
It's
it.
American.
You
No,
don't have to
it's
link it.
American, but we're gonna go Hollywood. We're gonna go the tragic death of Marilyn Monroe. Now, I mean,
No, you're right. I can see how you would struggle to link those two things.
you
It's
know,
fair enough.
when you look at the facts, it's just so not that exciting. You know,
The
but-
tragic death. No, but there's a lot of these tragic death of celebrities, right?
Mm,
Princess Diana.
mm.
I think Elton John did it. He needed the number one hit. you know, you got Elvis, Tupac Shakur.
Remember, Elvis was supposed to have not died.
Yeah.
Faked his-
Elvis shouldn't have died.
Tupac
Tupac
was,
Shakur
that
should
was
not
a
have
gang
died.
war.
Yeah,
East,
but no,
East side, West side.
he may still be alive out there
Yeah,
somewhere,
Tupac.
according to conspiracy theorists.
So
Yeah, like the
sad to
death.
faking your own death is sad, isn't it? You can't ever be alive again.
I mean, you can be just some random nameless guy.
No, but you can't ever be you again.
Which is all right, I guess.
I suppose so.
Yeah. Like if you got millions of dollars and then you get to, because this is the thing, fame is terrible, right? Like fame is, you never get to live
Be
a normal
free
life,
again.
right?
Mm.
Yeah, you're constantly surrounded by people who want to talk to you and think you're their friend, etc., etc. So, but if you take your millions of dollars and you pretend you're dead, then you can go and live like on an island somewhere, and occasionally you ride your speedboat into town, and some people say, doesn't he look an awful lot like Tupac Shakur? But they don't really think he's Tupac Shakur because Tupac Shakur died, you know. So there's a lot of talk around celebrities. Are they really dead? Even Michael Jackson. You know, like, oh, is Michael Jackson dead? Yeah, he's dead because if you saw that motherfucker like in the grocery store, you would instantly recognize him.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he could have gotten away during COVID, you know,
This
with mask on and whatever, but not now.
Maybe he
not normally.
started COVID. Oh God, look at us going.
Yeah, no. Michael Jackson started COVID. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. South Africans starting Internet Conspiracy Theories version 2.
I mean, Marilyn, the story is tragic of
Norma Jean.
Yeah, she didn't do a movie in the last 18 months before she died. She was fired from one and then renegotiated before she died to get back on it. It's quite a funny title, quite a well-known title, but can't think of it now. But she focused on her mental health, and she was quite a depressed person and was taking medication and stuff like that. And then but that's sort of sad and
Is this
predictable
the
and
fact?
uninteresting.
Yeah.
No, because then it gets to the Happy Birthday song, which was 3 months before she died. The Happy Birthday, Mr. President thing, and then it was no, she wasn't not just having an affair with the president, but with his brother as well. They did meet on 4 occasions. No one really knows if they ever had an affair, from my bits of research. But there's this new word. Oh man, I've got to get this word. It's a wonderful word. It's called. It's not an affair. It's a. It's such a lovely word, and they had a. It's gone now. A dalliance.
Oh.
So it's like maybe there was a dalliance.
I love how the word dalliance is new to you. Like Potchefstroom just
dalliance.
coming right out there. Right
But
to
I
the
mean, what
front.
does it mean to you, dalliance?
It's dalliance means like a light but no strings attached kind of.
Tryst, maybe.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
bit of
okay, but it's a dalliance is
But
slightly
could it
stronger
just
than
be
a
we
tryst.
just danced and shared a kiss and a dance? Or
Yeah,
is it-
a dalliance is something that's slightly longer than a tryst though. So it's happened on a few occasions. A tryst is like a meetup. We've met on purpose, but it may only be one time.
So then there's rumors of a double affair. So big deal. Why kill her? Well, if you're gonna leak the affair, that's interesting. But no, she was married to a playwright who had communist kind of vibes, Arthur Miller or something, and a few of her friends were all communists. And so now there's this communist threat, and
a communist threat to the president.
Yeah, and
didn't she only die like a few months before him though, or like?
I think she was 62. Don't know.
Oh, he was like 67.
Yeah, so not long.
Couple years.
And so, well, you see now suddenly, all of them together, the two of them together. But my fact is that there's actually a book published which states that the whole thing was a conspiracy of murder and covered up by J. Edgar Hoover himself. There's a book out there that's a published book that claims that. So
listen,
this is
first thing.
the Kennedys. It's her brother-in-law, which is married to the Kennedy thing, and it's J. Edgar Hoover, the freaking FBI.
So you're saying essentially that the FBI. This is the conspiracy theory that I have to determine now, once and for all. This thing has been around for 50 years. More than 50 years. I have to determine once and for all, right now, for a point on our podcast.
Yes. This is a settle us now.
Whether this is true, whether she was actually killed by the U.S. government. Brilliant, Ryan. You've really fucking nailed me to the wall.
You're so. There's a target on your head now, my friend.
I think that. I mean, what do they say? What's the official reason for her death? What did they give us?
You know what? This is the tragedy, because I like. This is quite personal and vulnerable, but I'm a softie. I don't like suicide things. Like I needed to wear black after 13 Reasons Why.
Okay.
It was like it messed with my head badly.
Did she toast a bath?
No, it was just an overdose of either sleeping tablets or that sort of thing. And so they ruled out accident, but it's not well known that she committed suicide.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
But for me, when I realized actually that's what it points to, that she actually took her own life. Oh, just terrible. But assuming she didn't.
Oh yeah, no. Assuming she got bumped off by
the Kennedys.
So let me work out now once and for all. Let me answer this. Let's close this case for.
But my fact is, in a published book, J. Edgar Hoover.
Oh no, it's definitely in a published book.
Okay.
J. Edgar Hoover is definitely in the published book, whether it's true or not, though.
Sure.
That's what we really want to discuss. I'm saying it's true. It is in the book.
Look, I'll give you. You've got your point, but I want to hear whether.
Yeah, they definitely did it. The American government, the military-industrial complex, teamed up with Big Tinfoil, and they did her over.
Yeah,
they did her over. They roughed her up. They did her over.
But I got to tell you the facts. Yeah, you like your journalist stuff, and that's jolly, interesting. Yeah. This is the most prominent Monroe conspiracy theorist in the 1980s was British journalist Anthony Summers, who claimed that Monroe's death was an accidental overdose, enabled and covered up by Robert F. Kennedy. His investigation on Monroe began as an assignment, blah, blah, blah. He was working for a newspaper, and it led to a book. Became one of the most commercially successful Monroe biographies. And he also did a thing on the assassination of John F. Kennedy, this author. But according to Summers, Monroe had severe substance abuse problems and was psychotic in the last months of her life. He alleges that Monroe had affairs with both John and Robert Kennedy, and that when Robert ended their affair, she threatened to reveal their association. Kennedy and Lawford, this is a brother-in-law of one of the Kennedy daughters. Kennedy and Lawford attempted to prevent this by enabling her addictions. According to Summers, Monroe became hysterical and accidentally overdosed, dying in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. Kennedy wanted to leave Los Angeles before Monroe's death became public to avoid being associated with it, and therefore her body was returned to her bedroom and the overdose staged as a suicide by Lawford, the Kennedys, and J. Edgar Hoover. Summers based his account on interviews he had conducted with 650 people connected to Monroe.
Yeah, just people who he put an advert in the local newspaper. Hey, anybody got any facts about this? And then 650 people from South Africa wrote in, listen, that chick, I saw her. She was in the bar. She was taking all these barbiturates by herself.
Exactly. So quantity doesn't mean it's a fact, and almost all the accounts are second or third hand accounts, and it's mostly what they believe happened, not. So it's very disappointing.
It's amazing how many people think that their own story and what they believe happened is like a fact. It's amazing. It's amazing the people that would believe that. Anyway,
that's Marilyn's shame. Norma Jean, eh?
I've got a much bigger one than that.
Whoa.
Much bigger.
Whoa.
Grander conspiracy theory. Remember how in 2012 the world was supposed to end? Mayan
2012.
Apocalypse.
Oh, the Mayan. Yes,
the
yes.
Mayan apocalypse.
Not,
the Mayan calendar
Prince's
ended in 2012. Yeah. No.
Party like it's 2012.
No. The Mayan calendar ran until 2012, and then people were like, the world was supposed to end.
Yeah.
So here's my fact. It did. It did end in 2012. What happened is, because that's the year that CERN fired up the Large Hadron Collider.
Oh.
And they accidentally created a black hole into which we were all sucked.
Oh.
Thereby ending the world as we knew it.
Oh.
But we just kind of carried on unknowingly.
Wow.
Into the future. And there's a lot of people who put forward
so I'm imagining this. It's
yeah,
not
a lot
really
of people have put forward these kind of contrasting facts. You know, have you heard of the Nelson Mandela effect?
Wow, no.
Okay, so the Nelson Mandela effect is a belief by people in the world in general that Nelson Mandela died in the 1960s. So there's a lot of people who remember Nelson Mandela dying. They remember him dying, and then him being released and becoming the president of South Africa blows their mind, because it feels to them like an alternate history.
Gosh.
And there are websites that document these things where loads of people have the exact same kind of memory of something that didn't really happen. So, for instance, Berenstain Bears or Berenstain Bears. So it's a lot of people remember the Berenstain Bears, but in fact the answer, what they really are, is the Berenstain Bears. So if you remember the Berenstain Bears, that's the Nelson Mandela effect. You're remembering something that doesn't really exist. There's a movie called Shazam, which has Shaquille O'Neal in the main role. But a lot of people remember that comedian. What was his name? Sinbad. They remember Sinbad being in the main role instead. And so there's literally a website that documents all of these kind of moments where it's not just one person has this memory. It's thousands of people remember this thing as being different to how it historically is now. So this theory that CERN destroyed the world in 2012 relies quite a lot on the Nelson Mandela effect. So it says things started going off the rails in 2012, and life started becoming harder and worse for us, because actually it's by nature of our decaying universe that has now been sucked into a black hole and destroyed, that we now exist in this decaying universe. So that's my fact. The universe was destroyed in 2012, and we're just plowing on regardless, Ryan. And I'd like you, please, if you refute this, to do so with facts.
How do I prove that we weren't sucked into a black hole? So your fact is that this theory exists.
My fact is that this theory not only that this theory exists, Ryan. My fact is that it's true. And I don't want you to argue with me, because my mental health's not good. We've discussed this episode. And it may result in trauma to me if you decide to deny it without a verifiable argument, without an argument that at least gives me.
I need something in my existence that can prove that we didn't get sucked into a black hole.
Right.
And I'm gonna say that the fact is not true. The reason is I have motion sickness, and I would have felt a weirdness, very dizzy around 2012. Because of the
Do you not remember feeling like that?
I actually did, hey.
You see, so you're actually in fact confirming my theory.
I went through this quite a stressful patch. My ex got quite sick for about 10 months, and then she got fixed up. And then we even had like a medical negligence.
By fixed, do you mean like at the vet.
Operation.
Oh, no.
It was a
She wasn't fixed.
They messed up the one up, and it took
Okay.
10 months later to figure out what they'd messed up and then
Oh,
fix
sure,
it up. So
okay.
it was a stressful time. And I remember having a bit of post-traumatic shit. And I did go through a phase, and so this was around 2010 that she had the medical hiccup. And then I remember 2012 when all is better. She even got.
You felt like you were being sucked into a black hole.
Well, I was.
That's amazing, Ryan. I thank you
and
very
my-
much
my
for proving
mom-
my point.
My mom's a witness here. Hey, I was dizzy for like a month.
Yeah, when we were sucked into black hole. So, I mean, essentially,
My mother said drink lots of Energide.
so essentially
Because
what
I
you're
needed
saying,
to replace
you
the-
started out using your motion sickness as a way to disprove this,
I
and
know,
in fact,
then that's-
ultimately proved it for the internet that this is now a decaying universe in a separate black hole. and
Yeah,
that
so I don't actually have anything to disprove that.
no
we were-
reason whatsoever. You just believe things, don't you?
Yeah.
It's just faith with you, isn't it? It's all just faith with you.
So, but I must still say yes or no. Hey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you did. You said you didn't believe it.
Yeah.
You said you didn't believe it. I'm frankly horrified. To be honest, NASA also released a statement saying that they said, newsflash, the world didn't end on December 21st, 2012. You've probably already figured that out for yourself. Despite reports of an ancient Mayan prophecy, a mysterious planet on a collision course with Earth or a reverse in the Earth's rotation, we're still here. Which to me is quite interesting because NASA took all the effort to release a press release, right? They took the effort to release a press release and then offered only anecdotal evidence. And then, to me, that's extremely suspicious. Like, so, we'll just leave this one up to Dietz as to how he wants to take it.
It's like the God no God story. It's like the onus issue. It's like those who don't believe something. Well, the onus is on you to prove that there is one, and then they might say, no. The onus is on you to prove that there isn't one. It's like it's so difficult. These things can be so difficult.
I think the onus is always, if you're claiming something ludicrous, Ryan, that you have to prove it. Like it's unfair of me to have said to you, you have to prove we weren't sucked into a black hole. I can't just say nonsense and then make you disprove it. I have to prove that the nonsense is a thing. Similarly, if I am to say a giant man in the sky created the entire universe, the onus is then on me to prove the nonsense and not on you to refute it.
Yeah. It's like, how do you know there's not a giant
That's
man
right.
in the sky?
That's right.
We did the giant man, are you there test, and we heard another giant man. So there's one experiment. the giant man,
No,
are
and
you
he,
there?
and he said nothing. He said nothing, and yet you continue to believe. Continue.
Yes, but what did you call him? Giant man. That's not his name.
No, I think he'd know who we're talking to, though. He knows everything. So, if you were just like, hey, dickhead, he wouldn't. Oh, I'm not going to answer that. I'm not.
I'm in a dilemma because if I answer it, they're gonna call me a dickhead forever. But if I don't, then my people
That's
are gonna
right.
lose the debate. Oh,
That's
shucks.
right. That's right. All right, good. So, all right, that was my fact. What's your next one?
Oh right, yeah. Oh yeah. This is we're getting a little heavier. Eurabia. What a lovely word. Eurabia. Do you know about it?
No. It sounds like either a planet or you're accusing me of something.
Eurabia. Eurabia. It is a planet. No, I'm joking. Eurabia is a conspiracy that Western Europe is going to soon, by 2050, be a Islamic state and Sharia law.
Oh, this is so much heavier than I thought it was, Ryan. Nice one. We were all like bubbling along with the conspiracy theory and the end of the world, and now you're like, haha, here's some real politics. Okay,
So
all right, let's discuss
my
it.
fact is that it is a real conspiracy theory. I didn't make it up. It's a real conspiracy theory, and it surfaced in Norway in the let's call it the 1980s?
So, I mean, the thing is that these sort of replacement theories are quite common. You know,
Right.
I know America had a replacement theory about, soon
Mexican.
Spanish is going to be the number one language spoken in America.
Yeah, I remember
Sure,
that.
yeah. And there was a real big panic about that.
Around a braai. You
Yeah.
can't go to America. You speak Spanish. They won't let you in. It's like,
Yeah, but that's exactly right. So that's I mean, you know, these our people are going to be replaced by their people. You know, as you know.
but have you heard the demographics of sort of Los Angeles?
Mm.
If it's true,
I mean,
what I
to
read
be fair, California,
was
New
always
Mexico was always part
Spanish.
of it was
Was
always
part
like
of- yeah,
Mexico. It was
yeah.
always and then just
Los
got taken away
Angeles
from
is
them.
a
Yeah.
Spanish kind of word, but I believe the demographics, which is fascinating, is something like I hope this is not offensive to anyone, but it's something like 40, 30, 30 in terms of 40% Hispanic, 30% what you'd call white American, 30% black American. LA, what a fascinating little.
So I mean, the
Melting
thing
pot.
is that you know those people who are kind of against replacement theory, firstly, are they're wasting their time.
Yes.
The world is going to become increasingly cosmopolitan. You know, since the
and
creation
it's a
of
cool thing.
since the creation of air traffic and quicker travel,
Sure.
it's always going to be the case that we're going to live where we want to live in this world. And the more people try to throw up the boundaries and the barriers and the borders, the more people kind of circumvent them. So I think the whole thing is futile. The threat, this kind of constant, you know, the bizarre thing about, say, a country like Norway or Sweden or Finland, in these places with very singular cultures, you know, they're terrified of letting people with different cultures come into their country because, these people are going to outnumber them and take over. But at the same time, they've got very negative population growth rates. So
That's
they've got
right.
upside down pyramids.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so the fact is that they're going to die out anyway if they carry on doing what they're
They
doing.
May as well let people
So,
in.
so the idea is you let people in, continue your culture, build your society. You know, you have to.
Yes.
Because the alternative is extinction extinction
That's right.
anyway for these people. So just on that basis, the whole theory is stupid. Stupid.
Yes. it
Whether
is.
now I'm going to question the actual stat behind it, and I would say I think it would be difficult to imagine that, you know, they're going to be, you know, majorly Muslim by 2050 or whatever it is that you said. You know, these things happen, I think, significantly slower than that, and I think right-wing politicians use those sorts of stats to scare people into voting for them. You know, your children are going to grow up in a Sharia state. You know, it's all meaningless. I think it's all nonsense. And I think that whatever immigration is happening is good.
Yeah, I like that. And you've summed it up really nicely. Would you say that this came from Norway?
Oh, Norway. No, I would imagine it's probably earlier than Norway. I think those northern countries are now only really kind of experiencing the immigration that the southern countries like Greece and Italy and Spain and them have. You know, Spain was Muslim for centuries.
Muslim, yeah.
For centuries. So, you know, I mean, I'm sure Spain is a lot more accepting, one would hope, of these sorts of things than
Sicily was entirely occupied by.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know, these are populations that have been merging and blending for centuries. So I'd be surprised to hear that this is a new theory. You know, I'd imagine if anybody's come up with it, it's probably first mentioned hundreds of years ago.
Well, okay, cool. Well, I'll give you the point because it's not Norway. The term Eurabia, a lady called Giselle Littman, she's actually, her pen name is something different, but she's also married to a historian and born in Egypt, but lived in the UK and Switzerland. But it was in Britain where her book Eurabia, the Euro-Arab Axis, gained momentum.
I like that somebody whose surname is Littman, as in literature man, wrote a book. That's the stuff I get hung up on.
And it was a newsletter in the 70s and 80s that she started writing. Then she released a book in 2005, actually. And here's her really provocative statements. Benjamin Lee.
No, I mean, that's basically nonsensical, right? What you just said. Here's a provocative statement. Benjamin Lee. Were you perhaps scanning your notes, Ryan? I think you possibly were, yeah.
This is what her work is described as by Benjamin Lee, that Europe has surrendered to Islam and is in a state of submission. They've given it a fancy word, in which Europe is forced to deny its own culture, stand silently by in the face of Muslim atrocities, accept Muslim immigration. This is all terrible.
It all sounds like Brexit propaganda, really,
yes,
doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes, but what's interesting about Europe at the moment, the Pew Research Center said in 2012 that the data that we have isn't pointing in the direction of Eurabia at all, and predicts that the percentage of Muslims is estimated to rise to 8% in 2030. In 2007, academics who analyzed the demographics dismissed the predictions that the EU would have Muslim majorities. It is completely reasonable to assume that the overall Muslim population in Europe will increase, and Muslim citizens will have a significant imprint on European life. The prospect of a homogenous Muslim community per se, or a Muslim majority in Europe, is however out of the question. That's a strong word. Justin Vassay seeks to discredit what he calls 4 myths of alarmist school, using Muslims in France as an example. Specifically, he has written that the Muslim population growth rate was lower than that predicted by Eurabia, partly because the fertility rate of immigrants declines with integration. He further points out that Muslims are not a monolithic or cohesive group, and that many Muslims do seek to integrate politically and socially. Finally, he wrote that despite their numbers, Muslims have had little influence on French foreign policy. Furthermore, leading European Muslims are rather outspoken against religious fundamentalism and are far from acknowledging Arab countries as a role model at all.
You know, as like South African who lives in Cape Town, I think the thing is, embrace the fuck out of those Muslim guys. They come with wonderful, wonderful cultural history, brilliant food, great people. Fucking embrace them.
No, totally. Them, I mean, the whole cosmopolitan thing, it's why I'll probably always live in cities or close to cities, because we in entertainment, and that's where the people are. But also, that's the vibe. I like choices. I can go eat there, eat with this friend there, eat with that thing there, and it's just so exciting to have those influences. And with me, even though I'm of a Christian religious vibe, I have good Muslim friends, and their culture is just so good. They're such good people and family and doing the right thing, and they contribute to society so nicely, and they work hard. They are hard work ethic.
You're such a disappointment to your Crusader ancestors, Ryan.
I know.
I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, and then like the food is just glorious. The food is absolutely glorious. So I agree. Embrace. And I love it, man. My barber, he's from Libya. I love him.
It's interesting that we're talking about food, because I'm about to leap into that kind of area. This is a big one. This is a controversial one, Ryan. You may have heard, I don't know if you know a thing, like being South African, maybe you've heard of this. The 1995 Rugby World Cup. South Africa won it. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you know that, right? You know that, yeah. So there's a big conspiracy theory around that. I don't know if you know that.
Well, I do know that the French rugby team said that their try was a try in the semi-final.
They did say that. They did say that.
Is that your fact? Sorry.
No.
I pissed all over your fact already.
No, you haven't. And then one of the rugby officials actually got in trouble after the final at the final dinner, where he gave a watch or something to the ref of that game and said, "Oh, you were the ref of the tournament," and the ref left. He stormed out because it felt like he was being bribed, you know. Anyway, but that's not what I'm talking about at all. What I'm talking about is the fact that the All Black team were poisoned the night before the final.
I heard that one. I thought, and they all had runny tummies.
They were poisoned.
Luckily, they all wore black. So
they were poisoned before the final, Ryan, and that's my fact.
I heard that like the next day.
Yeah.
They all had, dodgy chicken, man. It's all the same.
No, my fact is they were actually poisoned before that final. And we as South Africans,
it's a shame on us.
We need to confront this.
Yeah.
And we need to deal with it.
Yeah, we do. It's like It's like the choking in cricket, and the
I think most South Africans, we have very much dealt with the choking in cricket. That choking was thrust on us as a PTSD. 22 runs off of one ball.
yeah,
That shit.
that law.
The
law's changed now because of that trauma.
The entire system. It's no longer just.
There's another
Duckworth
ODI World
system.
Cup this year. There's an ODI.
There is in October in
always
India.
gets
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, the All Blacks, the mighty All Black New Zealand side of John Alamu, poisoned before the final.
Dodgy chicken on purpose, would that count as poison? For example.
I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave you to define this. I'm gonna tell you that I think they were poisoned, Ryan. That's what I'm saying. That's the fact.
Fuck, I hope
It's
not.
a fact.
I hope not, but because it came out the next day, I'm saying they gave them shit chicken and they shat themselves and they couldn't run fast because they're scared they're gonna fucking shit all over the field. They had to run in small steps rather, and that affected Andrew Merton's kicking and everything. Oh God, what do I say? It's just and again, such a terrible.
Ryan, New Zealand is watching. They have a horrific opinion of white South Africans. Is that going to continue, or are we going to get a few fans here? What are you going to say here, Ryan?
I'm going to say that the hotel manager at the Holiday Inn there in Hyde Park. I don't know if there's a Holiday Inn in Hyde Park. He did. He said, "Give them that shit chicken. Give them the fucking old peri. Just fuck them. Give them that. It's been lying in the sun for a day. It's starting to bubble. They'll think it's tasty. Add more peri. Yes, they were poisoned.
You think they were poisoned?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's quite a story because they were definitely sick, right? They were definitely like.
This is so sad.
There's no doubt that some of them were still throwing up on the sidelines leading up to the game. The fact is they weren't sick when they got sick. Whenever they got poisoned, it wasn't the night before. It was 2 nights before. It was on the Thursday. So a former South African policeman by the name of Rory Stain appeared on SuperSport, and he did an interview on SuperSport, and he talked about this particular game, and he said that they on the Thursday night, the guys started coming down in that All Black team. They started coming down sick.
Of course, the finals on the Saturday.
With the final on the Saturday, and he said about 2/3 of the squad were absolutely man down. And he said there was projectile vomiting, and it included a South African who'd been assigned to assist the contingent of All Blacks and get them to the right places and stuff. But despite that, the New Zealanders decided they weren't going to mention that they'd had food poisoning, and they were going to tough it out, and they were going to go and they were going to play this game. And then after the final, now South Africa's won 15-12, and Nelson Mandela's come out and he's given Francois Pienaar the trophy, and it's a beautiful moment for South Africa.
Sure.
This absolutely incredible thing. Chester Williams is a new icon in South African rugby. In the press conference after the game, the reporters wanted to know why New Zealand played so badly. And I mean, to my mind, they didn't play terribly at all. I mean, particularly when you hear that 2/3 of them were vomiting on the sideline. I mean, they weren't quite vomiting on the sidelines; they were a bit recovered by that stage. But yeah. Then they admitted in that post-match conference that some of them had been incredibly sick. And somebody asked, "Do you think it was intentional?" And the coach from then on has basically said that he believes there was an employee at the hotel that came in, poisoned them, because there was apparently an employee by the name of Susie who'd been employed a few days before, and then she vanished shortly after the final and was never seen again by the hotel. So they're saying that she poisoned him. And this
Susie de Malka.
So this Rory Stain, who was the former policeman and the bodyguard of Nelson Mandela, who was involved and in the whole thing at the time, he said he believed that SA Rugby didn't poison them, but he thinks betting syndicates poisoned them. He thinks that they were targeted for a poisoning and that they were poisoned. There's some people that have said that the tea and coffee urns in the hotel hadn't been cleaned properly in years, and they could have been responsible for it. Francois Pinault obviously has been interviewed quite a lot about it, and he said, "Look, there was a full investigation, and the investigators appointed couldn't find a damn thing." But then, Ed Griffiths, who was the 1995 SA Rugby CEO, he said they all went out and they ate seafood that day, and they ate seafood in a dodgy place, and so he says he doesn't feel sorry for them. He says they made a stupid call a couple days before a final and made themselves sick. And
in Joburg, do they eat seafood in Joburg?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's about as far away from the sea as you can possibly get. And so Ed Griffiths has always said that he doesn't feel sorry for them. He thinks they ate seafood and made them sick. So whether the Susie exists or whatever, but they did definitely, they were definitely sick. Nobody doubts that they were sick. A vast majority of the team was sick, and it does take some of the luster off of that final, because in our minds it was as tight as anything, and the South Africans played so beautifully to contain Jonah Longu. I think James Small and Jonah Longu stayed friends for years after that game. But so Laurie Mains, the New Zealand coach, has always said he maintains his team was actively poisoned, and this cop Rory Stain says he thinks that the betting syndicates did actively poison them. But, the investigation found nothing, and the South African rugby's position has always been, well, they ate something dodgy. So they were definitely poisoned. Whether it was by accident or on purpose, and by who, we do not know. But they were definitely poisoned.
Yeah. I wonder what they did on the day. Was it a bit of Imodium?
Apparently,
some energy.
Apparently, two of the players couldn't play. Literally, guys ran onto warm up and vomited and were put on the bench for the day. So it's a bit shit, but
Same.
But it's fine. South Africa's won 2 more since then. We're probably going to win another one next year.
Yes.
Let's not mess around with this.
Yeah. No, rugby's a fucking thing, eh? It's wonderful. Wonderful. Talking about dodgy South Africans.
Because we've got the QAnon guy, Susie, at the hotel who poisoned who poisoned the New Zealanders. Right?
Something fishy in Randburg.
Something fishy.
There's a New Zealand
the ocean basket. Ocean basket now with added streptococcal.
It was from the Cape Town fish market. In Cape Town? No, the one in Joburg. Well, what are you doing?
I ate sushi at the Cape Town fish market. Sushi, Japanese sushi, yeah. Cape Town fish market. Where was it? In Lone Hill. Fucking idiot.
Dodgy South Africans. This fact I might have even mentioned to you. I don't know if it was on the podcast or not, but as a maybe, but it's actually my fact is that it's not a maybe. The Guptas try to buy 702, and we're going to change it to a pro-government.
Is this your South African podcast here? This is your conspiracy theory. Your South African.
This is my fact. Because the whole state capture thing is very much proven to be true, but there's it's still so. There's a realm of morality and ethics that it violates that makes it a fucking evil thing.
It's
just fucking terrible.
To take all of the money from a country and to deny 40 million people the infrastructure and the futures that they deserve.
Yeah.
And that is beyond evil. It's beyond evil.
And the way they did it with an American consulting firm, Bain and Company, and then they got like British ad agency to come up with slogans to piss the country off. And
white monopoly capital.
Radical economic transfer and all of that stuff. And it's all a bit sick. And of course, you've got you just control the state and make sure you don't get into trouble by controlling the justice system and the police, and you weaken everything, and you try and weaken SARS, and then you also control the media, and they're just a fucking shit show. And of course, deeply evil. That's why I put the whole thing as like, it's in that realm of they try to destroy South Africa.
I would agree,
And the Guptas, so one of the things they try to do, control the media. They started the New Age, which had a slant, and sometimes people say, well, you should still give independent voices or any voices a chance, but it was pro-government. But they made a bid to purchase 702, and they were going to make it pro-government, and that's
Is this a conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying they might not have?
Yeah.
It's just people believe that they try to buy 702. I mean, why wouldn't they try to buy 702? If I was the dude that was, you look at Iqbal Serve now, and Iqbal can come for us because we're a major media company and we've got lawyers behind us.
Big time.
But you look at what's happened with independent media and his kind of control in return for the money from the government retirement funds. That control of the media is very, very important for these guys. And I would say, yeah. I'd say if I was the Guptas, I would have tried to buy 702. Why not? Put in a bid. See what happens, So, yeah, it's true.
Straight up, it is true. It came out in the Gupta leaks in emails. That's how they figured it out. It wasn't, out in the open, but with the Gupta leaks.
Was it through like a separate company, like through a side company?
Probably. But the Gupta leaks and Amabungani and Daily Maverick kind of jumped on that story.
Those guys so much.
Yeah. And what I find fascinating is with the Guptas, they did want to make it pro-government, but the reason, which even came out in the emails of the Gupta leaks, was not because they were pro-government, because they just wanted to ensure that the government contracts came, so any government advertising came straight to them. So it was all about the money for the Guptas. Where the country stood politically or socially, or the chaos beneath, like that, money. Guptas, money. Like social, political, blah, blah, who gives a shit? Money.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think there are very few people that realize how hated they are in this world. I mean, the Guptas. Shoo-hoo-hoo. I don't even think Jacob Zuma's as hated as they are. Anyway.
I agree.
All right, we're onto our multiple choices. Our multiple choices, I've tried to go, kind of casually fun. Kind of casually. I know you love a bit of your classic rock music.
Oh, no.
Have we gone the same place?
Oh, okay. Give it to me.
Have we gone the same place?
Maybe. Go, give it to me.
All right. Which of these is not a real conspiracy theory about the Beatles or its members?
Oh, we've got a different one. This is amazing, Warren. This is amazing.
All right, good.
Okay,
So I'm giving you a chance.
Which of these
is not a real conspiracy theory about the Beatles or its members?
So ready.
Paul McCartney died in 1966 and was replaced by a doppelganger. John Lennon's life, success, and death were all predicted and linked to the number 9.
Jeez.
The scream you can hear of a woman in the background of Getting Better from Sgt. Pepper's is the real sound of a woman being murdered near the studio.
Yes, sis.
I mean, you must remember, these are all conspiracy theories, right? There is a secret unreleased Beatles album. So these are the 4 theories. One of them is not true.
One of them's
Yeah, if you'd like, I can do them again.
Let me see if I can remember the Paul McCartney doppelganger.
Yeah.
John Lennon number 9.
Yeah.
Then the Scream is a murdered woman, and an unreleased Beatles album.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go with one that is probably true is the unreleased Beatles album. They did a beautiful thing.
I'm not asking you which ones are true. I'm saying to you which one is not a conspiracy theory. Like which one is not. Yeah, like this is not a theory about the band at all. Yeah.
I'd have to go.
No, because conspiracy theories, whether they're true or false, who knows? Right.
I was going to lean with Lennon's number 9. I was going to say Paul McCartney's doppelganger is not true, but I actually, in the last 7 days, read something. I just saw a headline or something like that. So I'm going to go with it. That is a conspiracy theory. The number 9 is so intriguing. Yeah. And of course he was assassinated and shit.
Yeah, I know. So his life, his success, his death, it was all predicted.
I've never
heard
of that one before.
Yeah, but it was all linked to the number 9.
Yeah. Around his assassination as well.
You haven't heard it because you're wearing the tinfoil hat. If you'd taken it off, you would have heard the screams of 1,000 government messages that would have included that.
I'm gonna go with. I think you're making up the scream of the women. as something devious that you made up, and if it's true, oh, what a ghastly, even conspiracy theory.
Again, conspiracy.
Just a
So
conspiracy
it's
theory.
literally So what it is in
Yes.
Getting Better, you can hear a woman scream in the background, and there's a theory. Like it sounds like it's part of the song, but there's a theory that it was a woman getting murdered nearby. Yeah.
So funny, I actually don't know that song, and I'm a massive Beatles fan.
It's from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the fact that isn't a conspiracy theory. Is the screaming woman fact? The rest are unreleased album, sure. John and the Number 9 and Paul the Doppelganger.
All right, let me start at the top then. Let
All
me take this right from the top. All right, so the Paul McCartney died in a car accident in 1966, and maybe the biggest rock conspiracy theory of all time, right? Because what happened was a Detroit DJ was on the lines and he was getting some people to call in, and somebody phoned in, an unnamed guy phoned in on the October the 12th, 1969. The DJ's name was Russ Gibb, and he phoned into Russ Gibb's show on WKNR, and he told him to put on the Beatles' White Album and spin the song Revolution 9, which now is the John Lennon. Remember that? Mm-hmm. John Lennon wrote that. So Revolution 9 backwards. So Gibb tried it on air. He spun it backwards, and he heard the words, "Turn me on, dead man." And then the voice told him, "All right, now play Strawberry Fields Forever." And if you play that backwards, you can imagine him saying, "I buried Paul." And from that moment, people started looking at various different things, and they started putting together pieces, and they thought
And the backtracking hidden messages.
Yeah, all these kind of hidden messages and things that people said. And the rumor spread like wildfire. It became basically like a meme around the world at that point, that Paul was dead. And the band just had to kind of sit there and watch it. I mean, obviously, we as logical people believe that the Paul McCartney who we know today is alive and well, and he is the same Paul McCartney, because they would have had to have replaced him with a doppelganger who not only looked like him, but could also write music.
Genius.
Yeah, who's also a musical genius, right? But yeah, so that is very much a theory, and yeah. John Lennon's life, success, and death all predicted and linked to the number 9 is also true. So there's this big theory, which I mean, it starts with Revolution 9 on the White Album, but there's a whole lot of other stuff, because John himself believed he had a connection to number 9, and he used to talk about it in interviews quite a lot. He said, like, I lived at number 9 Newcastle Road. I was born on the 9th of October on the 9th month, which, by the way, is a mistake. October's the 10th month. He said it's just a number that follows me around. And since then, people have been making these kind of connections for him. And amongst them, the Beatles' first appearance at the Cavern Club, February 9th.
Wow.
The group's contract with EMI was confirmed on May 9th. Brian Epstein scouted them for the first time on November 9th. Their first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show was February 9th. In Paris, 1964, Lennon received a death threat that read, "I'm going to shoot you at 9 tonight." Paul McCartney's surname has 9 letters in it. Yeah. Lennon claimed he met Yoko Ono on November 9th, although this is disputed by some people. He left the Beatles in 1969 after spending 9 years in the band. His son Sean Ono Lennon was born on October 9th. When he was shot, he was rushed to hospital on 9th Avenue. Yeah, due to the time difference, Lennon technically passed away on December 9th in Liverpool. And the number of words in the list of this coincidences, it's just 100. Then there's the scream you can hear of a woman in the background, right?
Oh.
So this is a real conspiracy theory.
Fuck.
It's just not about the Beatles. It's about a band called the Ohio Players on their song "Love Roller Coaster." There's a scream in the background, which the band says they put in to sound like a woman having fun on the roller coaster, and people ran with saying it was somebody being murdered in the studio. Whatever. Yeah, unfortunate. So the one about the secret unreleased Beatles album, it was literally just a kid who made up a list. His name was Martin Lewis. He was a teenager. He made up a hoax list of a bootleg. He took a photo of a bootleg that he'd got of theirs with song names written on it, and people believed that so fervently that these were Beatles songs by the names. that it spread that there was an album. So the names of the songs you could see were Colliding Circles, Left is Right, in brackets, and Right is Wrong, Deck Chair, and Pink Litmus Paper Shirt. so he took a photo.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it spread around, and
cheers,
people,
Deeds.
thank you very much, Deeds. Yeah, it spread
thank you.
around, and people made it into a meme. You know, at the time you couldn't check this kind of stuff. There was no internet to check these things. So people just kind of sat and it became a thing in people's heads that they started to believe and that they shared with their friends. And do you remember the story about Rodriguez?
Yes.
Yeah, and that he set himself on fire. I think we may have discussed that on the podcast before.
Yeah, it's a great, also a great Netflix docu. Yeah.
Yes, Searching for Sugar Man.
Yes.
But yeah, that was the rumor, was that he'd set himself on fire. And because we didn't have the internet, if that happened now, you would literally contact the guy on Twitter. You'd reach out to his Instagram account and tell him, "Hey, you're famous here. You're selling a shitload of albums." But in the 1970s, he had to spend 20 years as a construction worker, never knowing how famous he was. So yeah, it's very much that kind of vibe. I think these things sort of survive because of that. But yeah, congratulations, you got the right one.
Yay, hooray. And isn't it amazing that we've gone with I'd say
Did we both
70s rock era bands. I'm going to talk about, in my multiple choice fact, crop circles, which we know today are very much designed beautiful things, and they're tourist attractions, and people try and do all sorts of beautiful things with them. But the most famous case of it being a scary thing, there were two great hoaxes in the 80s and 90s. And they were inspired by an actual event in Australia, 1966, Tully, the saucer nest. A farmer said he witnessed a saucer-shaped craft rise 30 or 40 feet from a swamp and then fly away. On investigating, he found a nearly circular area, 32 feet long by 25 feet wide, where the grass was flattened in clockwise curves to water level within the circle, and the reeds had been uprooted from the mud. The local police officer, the Royal Australian Air Force, and the University of Queensland concluded that it was most probably caused by natural causes like a downdraft, a willy,
or some kind of platypus. This is a bloody great platypus, Bruce.
So
what do you think it is, Bruce? Oh, it's a bloody great platypus. That's what it is. Koala falling out of a tree.
So it's a thing called a willy or a dust devil. It's basically a tornado.
Of course they call it a willy. Of course they do.
What's that caused that sort of hole in the ground? That's the old willy come again.
Definitely my willy. Your willy's not 25 feet across, Bruce.
And then they said the Department of Defense wrote that the journalist that the saucer was probably debris lifted by the causing willy, which is quite a thing. So it's a thing. It spins and then.
So like, can we call it a tornado, or do we have to call it a willy?
Well, if you're Australia, it's a willy.
We have to call it a willy. All right.
Well, it's changed. It used to be the Umchangdenga. The old Umchandinga came, and the Umshagnuga. Yeah, the Umshagnuga came, and then the Umchandinga.
I think willy in many ways is the worst description I've ever heard for anything ever.
This long thing which spins.
Yeah, I mean, like in Britain, a willy is a man's genitalia. It's a winky. It's a wee.
Oh, the old dust devil, the old willy.
They're just like, here's a cock. Come to suck off our horses.
But you're never going to be believed. It's like, I saw a guy, he had weird tentacles, and he tried to probe my butt, and I ran away and hid under the bed, and then he disappeared in this bright thing which went into the sky. No, mate, that's the old Umchandinga. They're not surprised by anything in these Australians. Now, what you saw, mate, was a bit of an Umchandinga.
Happens all the time over here. Happens all the time. My wife, she got willy in the in the town last weekend. People were saying she got sucked off. Wait, hang on. This metaphor is going pear-shaped.
So, okay, you want to know...
What is your actual fact
sure,
about
no
this?
problem. Yeah, my actual fact is, which of these bands featured crop circles on one of their album covers?
Okay.
Was it Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Dire Straits, or Queen?
I think it was Led Zeppelin, if I remember correctly.
Oh, really?
I think
you
so.
have knowledge of this?
No, I don't really. I have vague recollections of a misspent youth listening to classic rock. So you said Led Zeppelin,
Pink Floyd, Dire Straits, Queen.
So definitely not Queen. Definitely not Pink Floyd.
Why do you say definitely not Pink?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Queen, crop circles.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin or Dire Straits. I don't know the covers of Dire Straits albums. I'd imagine they're more 80s. I'm going with Led Zeppelin. I mean, there's the one, right? Like there's wheat. It's carrying a sack of sticks. It's wheat in the back, isn't there?
Oh, that.
Isn't that too? But no. But I think
Stairway to
there's.
Heaven.
I think there's. Yeah, I'm going with Led Zeppelin. I'm going with Led Zeppelin for reasons unknown to myself, and I don't know what this has to do with Australia at all.
I know the Australian, that crop circle story is what inspired the hoaxes of the 80s and the 90s. Who were British people who did shit.
Who took the plank and then
Yes.
did patterns in the fields and they created crop circles and that
Or
became
so
like
they say.
that became like a worldwide phenomenon. No, I mean they didn't just say, they showed how they did it. They literally took the plank with the rope at both ends and they showed how they trod it so that it wouldn't break the stalks.
Well, the answer is the Led Zeppelin box set that was released on 7 September 1990, along with the remasters of the first boxed set, as well as the second boxed set, all feature an image of a crop circle that appeared in Eastfield in Alton Barnes, Wiltshire.
Nice.
Led Zeppelin.
High-fiving myself.
Well done.
I don't know what that had to do with Australia, except that it gave us a nice opportunity
Just
to do.
the fact that crop
That's the first
circles
crop.
was a conspiracy theory, and
Sure.
what made it into a biggish one was probably in the beginning, 1966, this Australian thing, this Willy Willy.
Sure, the Willy Willy. No, I mean, I can see why you read the words Willy Willy and were like, I need to say that.
Gonna go there.
I need to say that on the internet. Woo, I'm so saucy. I know why you had to do that. I get it. Good. That's conspiracy theories, all of which are true.
Ooh,
I'm
fun.
gonna take this off. I'm
Yes,
tired of,
are you sure?
Yeah, I'm
Your
tired of
5G
supporting big Elcan foil.
Your 5G headache's not
Yeah.
gonna kick in, hey?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much for listening this far. If
you.
indeed you did. If you didn't, if you stopped listening, well then fuck you.
Yes, and that's because that's what they want you to do. They want you to stop listening.
They want you, They want you to not get the truth.
Thanks, and they want you to watch.
Ever
the
since
next episode.
Alex Jones went bankrupt because of his Sandy Hook massacre theories, there's been a gaping hole in the internet, and Ryan wants to fill the gaping hole with his Willy Willy.
The old Chamdunga. Yeah, the old dust devil.
Good.
Thanks
Please
for watching.
share this. Tell your friends. We beg you. And otherwise, have a wonderful life.
And good morning, afternoon, and
Yeah.
good afternoon and good evening.
Good.
Bye.
Bye-bye.